I saw it go up for a second.
Yeah. We'll just give it a second here. Whoa, Jesus Christ.
What you have just witnessed is a clip from the movie Gasland, and it is a possible consequence of the natural gas drilling process known as hydraulic fracturing, or fracking. Some of you may know what fracking is, but for those of you who do not, the following video illustrates the process.
Fracking is a form of natural gas drilling, an alternative to oil, because the oil kept spilling, bringing jobs to small towns, so everybody's reeling. People turn on the lights and the drillers make a killing.
Water goes into the pipe into the ground. The pressure creates vision 7,000 feet down. The cracks release the gas that powers your town. That well's fracked, yeah, totally fracked.
To expand upon the previous video's explanation, fracking can be seen as a 5-step process. In step 1, the natural gas companies arrive and identify the areas in a region containing the highest concentrations of natural gas. Step 2, a land drill is brought in and used to drill a large hole into the ground, approximately 1,500 feet in depth. Step 3, the land drill continues to drill thousands of feet into the ground until a depth of approximately 8,000 feet is reached. However, as the hole grows deeper, the radius of the hole grows smaller so as to maximize the pressure that is now being put into the ground. Throughout this drilling process, the drill causes rock formations to become cracked. Natural gas then begins to leak out of these rocks, forming small pockets. Step 4. Piping is then inserted into the hole. Water and various chemicals are injected into the ground through this pipe all the way down to the bottom of the hole. The pressure from not only the drilling, but also from the liquids being forced down the tube, pushes all the natural gas in the immediate area into one big clump, forming these very large pockets of natural gas. Finally, in step 5, the water and chemicals are then sucked back up through the pipe by a hydraulic fracturing machine. The release of this pressure causes all of the natural gas inside of these large pockets to shoot to the top of the pipe. Not only is natural gas released during this process, but some oils and other minerals are also released as well. The products of fracking can then be used for the creation of energy.
So now we're going to go into a brief history of fracking. In 1947, the first form of fracking is used.
In 1949, Halliburton becomes the first company to commercially frack.
And in 1974, the Safe Water Drinking Act is passed. However, fracking is exempt from this act.
In 1976, the DOE initiates the Eastern Shales Gas Project, which provides funding for independent research for alternative domestic energy.
And in 1999, the first modern-day shale is fracked using horizontal drilling and high-pressure fluids, and this is in Texas in the Barnett Shale.
In 2001, the EPA initiates the first study into whether or not fracking is dangerous for drinking water after public concern.
And in 2005, President Bush signs the Clean Energy Act, which retracts all EPA authority, even though they had very little to begin with, to regulate fracking. This is called the Halliburton loophole, and now fracking is left up to the states to decide.
Fracking's track record throughout history may seem like smooth sailing. Many controversies have now arisen involving the environment. In an attempt to stop the fracking process, in her West Virginia home, Marilyn Hunt voices her concerns. Read by Arimani Caprio, this is her story.
Chesapeake Energy filed a lawsuit against us to force us to sign. We countersued and the suit was promptly dropped. The sites around our 70-acre farm have slipped, leaked, and had explosions to the extent that we had to buy respirators. We were able to obtain the help of Region 3 EPA criminal investigators who have found multiple violations. Entire mountainsides have collapsed. The worst problem is the contamination and the lack of public health response. For sale signs are continuing to go up with families fleeing and willing to let their homes go into foreclosure. We have lab reports and hundreds of photos of the chemicals coming in on trucks. The former lumberyard on Route 2 became a storage area for incredible amounts of chemicals.
Not only have fracking companies destroyed lives, families, and the natural beauty of our country's landscape, but their toxic processes have already begun to take a toll upon the environment that surrounds us. In 2011, Cornell University professors Robert Howarth and Anthony Ingrafea upended the environmental world with a paper published in Climatic Change Letters, declaring that natural gas, far from being a clean fuel, contributes to global warming even more than coal. The researchers based their conclusions largely on estimates of how much methane escapes from natural gas operations over 20 years compared with carbon emissions from coal. Many concerns have come about in regards to the dangerous chemicals that the process of fracking releases into the earth. Some have even gone to extremes to exploit the dangers of the industry. The chemicals used in the hydraulic fracturing process have also been linked to earthquake activity. Fracking uses approximately 6.5 billion gallons of water per year. That annual amount of fracking wastewater would satisfy the annual domestic drinking water needs of 258,000 people in Ohio. Many individuals have voiced their concerns about fracking through artwork, testimonies, and public outreach opportunities. Many people have preconceived notions about the hydraulic fracturing process. Dr. Turgeir Tekin, a professor of petroleum and natural gas engineering at Penn State, who is currently researching the effects of energy drilling practices, highlights the truth of these notions.
When people are asked what they have heard about fracking, this is how they responded.
I've heard that fracking ruins drinkable water.
Groundwater aquifers sit thousands of feet above the level at which fracking takes place, and companies construct wells with steel surface casings and cement barriers to prevent gas migration. Studies by the Environmental Protection Agency, the Groundwater Protection Council, and independent agencies have found no evidence of groundwater contamination.
I've heard that they use toxic chemicals in fracking.
The injected mix is 99% sand and water. All chemicals used in the fracking process have common applications from swimming pool cleaners and laundry detergents to cosmetics and even ice cream. U.S. Department of Energy, in collaboration with the Groundwater Protection Council and industry, created the website frackfocus.org. The site provides a full list of chemicals used in the fracking process.
I've heard that wastewater from fracking is really bad for the environment.
Introducing unnatural chemicals into an environment is never good. However, accidents are rare. Close regulations by state as to proper waste water disposal are meant to prevent these accidents. As newer technologies arrive, less of even safer chemicals are used. New methods of contaminant, like steel tanks, also prevent accidents.
I've heard that fracking causes earthquakes.
It is possible for fracking to cause an earthquake, a threat that exists with any kind of drilling. However, the chances are rare and no serious property damage or injury has resulted.
I've heard that fracking is unregulated.
Fracking regulation has been left up to the state's discretion. State regulations have proven effective. In Pennsylvania, fracking has been taking place since the 1960s with nearly 100,000 oil and gas wells fracked and no instances of contamination of groundwater. There are currently numerous proposals before Congress to introduce federal regulation of fracking.
I've heard that fracking technology is getting better.
The average well site today is just 30% of the size of its 1970s counterpart, and today's wells can access over 60 times more below ground area. Half as many wells are needed to produce the same amount of clean energy as 20 years ago. To further investigate fracking, I took the time to interview my football coach, who also happens to be the Director of Field Gas Services at U.S. Environmental. This man's name is Tim Miller. Now, Miller agrees that fracking can be harmful, but he also claims a lot has changed over the past 5 years. Up until about 2007, fracking was regulated from one small office in Tennessee. Since then, the government has issued advances so that fracking offices have been expanded nationwide to help better regulate fracking across the country. Miller also claims that the liquid that is used in the fracking process that we learned about is now being made with safer materials. And on top of that, when the liquid comes out of the pipe in the fracking process, companies used to leave this liquid right next to their fracking sites. And as we know, this would seep down into the soil and cause water pollution. Well, that's not allowed anymore. And with tighter regulations, companies are now forced to deposit their liquid at a fracking landfill disposal area. And finally, Miller also claims that fracking is taking an approach environmentally. Clean water reservoirs are now being made all around fracking sites to better the health of wildlife. So do the pros outweigh the cons in regards to fracking? Of course, fracking will always present environmental issues, and groundwater contamination is also possible from the process. However, as we have learned, huge advancements have been made in fracking over the past 5 years. On top of this, Miller's company alone generates 300 trillion cubic feet of natural gas per year. This is enough to power our entire country for months on end. Also, Pennsylvania has the potential alone to be as powerful as Middle Eastern countries such as Saudi Arabia because it has such a large reservoir of natural gas to tap into, and this could be so lucrative for our government. So, will the country take a stand against fracking, or will it continue to generate a very large amount of clean natural energy for our country to profit from?